Hi, today marks 1 year of my corporate life after IIM, and I'd tell you, life after IIM, especially your first corporate job after IIM, that's something else altogether. Not just corporate, your life actually does get transformed in a lot of ways. People don't really talk about it, but there's a lot to unpack over here.
ये सारे टॉक एसएम करे नॉक बंदे खाते खौफ एनर्जी दे ऑफ हम करे बॉस जॉब सीईओ है टॉप नॉच 36 चौदह पाले लेकिन
I will try and segment this video into two parts. Firstly, how things change around you, after graduating from a top IIM over a year. And secondly, how things within you change, how you change as a person, how your perspectives on life change, how your approach to certain things in life changes because of the changed reality around you. Right, so firstly, how things change around you. See, it's a very common thing, and this is something that I've talked about in my previous videos as well. After graduating from a top IIM, your social quotient, how you're perceived by the society, that changes a lot, especially among your pre-MBA friends, family, relatives, and neighbors as well. This is something that I've seen with a lot of my IIM friends who graduated with me. The moment they graduate from an IIM with a decently high package, they get flooded with a lot of rishtas for shadi. All the neighboring aunties, all the other relatives, they came flocking to them saying that, okay, we have this rishta for you, we have that rishta for you. So that's a very common occurring. Secondly, people in public spaces start treating you differently. This is something that I have experienced myself. When I'm in public spaces wearing a college t-shirt maybe, people start staring at me differently. And this has actually happened a lot of times when people, especially younger people, have come up to me asking for tips and tricks to crack top IIMs. And it feels really awkward or unusual initially, but yeah, you do get used to it. But this is something real that really happens.
Wow.
This is really not a flex, by the way, by no means. I actually love having a sit down with them and interacting with them about their careers. And I would have actually appreciated or loved it if someone had done this for me when I was a kid or preparing for an exam. Also, and I personally feel this is actually cooler, your cousins, your relatives, your siblings, they actually start looking up to you. That is really cool if you ask me. Again, and I have actually talked about this in my previous videos as well, none of this has actually happened with me, except for the airport incidences maybe, because I come from a family of overachievers, where my siblings, my cousins, my relatives, my parents, all of them are kind of overachieving compared to me. So for them, this is just business as usual, standard practice actually. Overall, the point that I'm trying to ride home over here is that your social quotient actually rises a lot after graduating from a top institute, and that's just the reality of this country. Now comes the more important part, how you as a person evolve over a year of joining corporate after graduating from a top IIM. See, the very first thing that hits you, even if your big corporate money gets to you, is the harsh reality that you are not really among your friends anymore. In college, you used to be 24/7 together. You used to hustle together, you used to grind together, you used to go for partying together, you used to go on amazing trips together. Whatever you used to do them together as an unit. As a result of which, the hectic life that you used to have in college, that used to feel a bit easier because you're among friends, because you're constantly interacting with your friends. Now, you can be located in a different city altogether, away from your friends, having to deal with a lot of new things completely by yourself. All the while, you're desperately missing your campus life. This is a change that really gets to you initially, but yeah, ultimately you do get used to it. The next thing that changes is obviously the big money that you now have access to. Your pay bracket is going to be much higher compared to most people in your age group, your pre-MBA friends as well. In a lot of cases, you would be earning way higher than what your parents were earning at this stage of their lives. And you would realize that you can now afford quite a lot of things quite easily. And this change can be a bit overwhelming at times, but in a pleasant way. For example, in my case, initially I could not really believe that I can now afford to take a flight whenever I want to, every alternate month or every other month, to pay a visit to my friends in other cities. This filmed like a huge change in reality for me. But yeah, I could do that. But at the same time, what happens is that you start becoming much more responsible with your own money. For example, in my case, I started saving my money properly, investing in a much more disciplined manner, paying back my loan. Overall, I had a really good understanding of my own financials, and I understood that this would be essential for me to open up possible avenues for new opportunities going forward in the future. Basically, you have thoda mauj masti with your money initially, but you also develop a real good understanding of how to manage your financials. And this brings me to the next shift that I really want to talk about. accountability, and workload. With great power comes great responsibility, and with great money comes great accountability and great workload. You are an MBA grad from a top B school, and the kind of expectations that people at work will have from you will be a lot. You would be expected to work very long hours, especially in consulting and finance, and that would be a norm. In my case, I would say that I'm a bit lucky in this regard because usually I start my work somewhere around 9 am and I try to wrap things up sometime by 7:30 pm. But even in my case, sometimes that work actually goes beyond 9:30, 10 p.m. I have attended calls at 11:30 p.m., 12 a.m., 12:30 a.m. as well. So that's just the reality of the situation, and that's just how it is. You can't choose to skip classes one day randomly. You are now leading initiatives. You are accountable. What I eventually realized is that the changes in your first year after your MBA can be a bit unsettling at times, but at the same time, they can have real good payoffs. You would actually get to sit in rooms full of C-suite people. You would have the opportunity to present or pitch solutions to them and be appreciated for the same. How cool is that? You can now afford to go on those amazing trips with your friends if you can manage time properly at work. You can indulge yourself, you can buy yourself stuff, you can buy your friends and family stuff completely carefree. I really wanted an iPhone 17 Pro and I could buy myself that without actually having to think about my financials, without actually having to take an EMI or something. So yeah. And at the same time, you might have to travel every week for work, spending 60% of your awake time in airports and closed hotel rooms. And trust me, it looks good only from a distance. If you have made it so far in this video, you are officially my friend. And I would like to leave you guys with a thought. Ultimately, over the course of last 1 year, we all have realized that we are much more fleshed out as people, as individuals, compared to what we used to be before back in campus. And it's a really nice feeling actually. It gives you a sense of accomplishment. So yeah, I think that would be it from my end. If you like my content, maybe consider subscribing. Bye.